Good evening. Okay, so my name is Michelle Mason. I'm going to, what does my title say? My title says I'm going to be talking to you about putting your mask on first. We're like, ooh, what does that mean? That's intriguing, right? That's why y'all stayed, not just for the food. So what I want to do is to spend a few minutes just giving you a little background. I'm going to be as succinct as possible as to my own career, and then we'll get into the presentation. So I grew up in Jersey City, New Jersey. Any Jersey folks? Yay, Jersey City? Orange County? Nothing? Okay, in any event. Jersey City, my mom never finished high school. Actually, my mom suffered. It's interesting, it's interesting how your personal life impacts your professional life, right? So mom never graduated from high school, but worked 2 to 3 jobs at any given point in her life to put me through school, right? My mom suffered lifelong mental illness, so she's bipolar. And managing that and growing up and what that has meant for me, I still struggle with, and you probably can see that. My dad, on the other hand, decided that he is highly intelligent, one of the most intelligent people that I've ever met, but wanted to take the easy way out, so he decided that robbing banks made sense for him. Wow, right? He was good. Only time he got caught because people told on him, so he was able to rob the bank, but his friends told on him, right? So he spent the great majority of my life in prison. So it's interesting to see, someone who's decided to actually go to law school and what that has meant for me, right? So let's fast forward to law school. So went to Rutgers undergrad and law school, and we'll talk about that a bit later, what that experience was like. Graduated from law school and said, you know what? I don't want to have anything to do with the law school ever. I'm done. I was bitter. And we can talk about that later if we have time as to why I was done and bitter. Some would say I'm still done and bitter, but that's another story. I don't think so. So I actually went and worked at a boarding school for 2.5 years. Moved to New Hampshire, one of the few black people in New Hampshire living there. Worked at a boarding school, had a fantastic time, and actually was responsible for their multicultural recruitment, and then also started to teach there. Fell in love. Unfortunately, he didn't love me, but I fell in love, moved back to New York to work at a prep school, at a prep organization, or nonprofit organization, I should say. And wrong fit, 3 months, I said, I need to find another job. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do now, right? So Seton Hall Law School had an opening for a position. So I went to Seton Hall, became associate director for admissions, right? I'm almost there. We're almost back to where I am now. Became associate director of admissions, got arrogant and said, I can run my own shop, right? So went and moved to Vermont Law School, where there's even less black people, believe it or not. And worked there for 1.5 years. Got cold and lonely once again, because I was like, damn, excuse my language, but I really need to date once in a while because it can't all be about work. And then an opportunity opened up, and I'm on camera using profanity, my apologies. A position opened up at Florida International about 15 years ago, and I was a founding member of that community. My role has changed, and actually one of my students is here. My role has changed over the time that I've been at FIU. I started as the Dean for Students, so I had all responsibilities for the career planning and placement, student affairs, admissions, you name it. I was in charge of the student affairs side of it, right? And then about 2.5 years ago, a position opened up in our clinical program to direct that program. So now I serve as, and that's my long title up there, as Dean for our clinical program. And I mentioned that to tell you is that you never know where life's journey is going to take you, and you need to be open to the opportunities, and you need to test yourself and figure out, what's going to make sense for you. So in that vein, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. So I've told you all my personal business, how the man I loved didn't love me, and how I got over it. I got married, though, by the way. I want to just make sure we know that. To someone else. To someone else, right? You never know, right? Thank God I moved. Excuse me? Oh yeah, we're still, that's a different dude, but yes, we met him in Miami. But in any event, I want you, since I've exposed all my personal stuff, pretty much all of my personal stuff. Since I exposed some of my personal stuff to you, I want to take a moment because I feel like we bonded. Yes, have we bonded? I want you to close your eyes. I'm not going to rob you, close your eyes. It's okay. I'm going to read something to you, and I want you to focus on what I'm reading to you, okay? Listen to the words. This is from Derek Bell, okay? If I close my eyes and I imagine a lawyer, I expose myself to a role. If I close my eyes and I see me, I expose myself to an identity. If I close my eyes and I see myself as a lawyer, I expose myself to the conflict between my role and my identity. Just think about that. Miss Murray, stand up. Please. Who did you see?
I saw myself as an advocate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just trying to combine my identity and my diversity and my history and making sure I can find the right roles in the legal profession to make that come alive and be true to myself.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So there's Derek Bell, so we can see it. Next slide. This is the world. I'm used to having a screen here, but there's nothing here, so ignore that. So let's look up there or there. This is the world that you live in, right? These are the social justice issues that you will wrestle with. And yes, I know there's a typo. I saw it in immigration, my bad. But this is your world. Irrespective to whether you decide to practice on the public side or the private side, this is the world that you live in, that you'll be responsible for, that you will shape. All this stuff will be going on in the background while you're in law school, right? It's been going on for a lot of you, even as undergrads, if I'm not mistaken. Some of you may have lived it. Some of you will live it. So think about dealing with that as a law student. Think about dealing with this as a lawyer. Right? Thinking how you will impact any of these issues. How you want to impact any of these issues, right? Ioka Hans, is she here? Ioka? Yes. Ikoya, I'm sorry, babe. Stand up, please. Question for you. What does it mean to be a lawyer? Speak up so they can hear you in the back. Okay.
I think what it means to be a lawyer is the opportunity to advocate for someone as well as teach someone something you've been taught, because everyone has the opportunity to be educated, but some specialized in it. So I think for a lawyer, this is given the individual that doesn't have any background on the law itself. You're here to teach them. You're their teacher, and you're able to advocate on their behalf, and hopefully you get that full run and like politics. But essentially, I think a lawyer is a teacher to an individual that has no context to what they are
Okay.
asking and questions on.
Okay. Thank you. Have a seat. Mr. Purdy, please stand. See, some of y'all stop by my table, right? It's kind of scary. It's like, how'd she do that? How'd she do that? That's right. This is law school. It's the unexpected. You will get to your first day of class. All right, Mr. Purdy. What role will you serve as lawyer and leader?
As a
Lawyer and a leader, yes.
okay, as a lawyer first, I want to be somebody who can beget power to those who have no power,
Okay.
and I can see myself doing that by translating and empowering people to learn more about the law and giving them the courage to continue to try to do things that they think they couldn't do before they came and saw me.
Okay, thank you.
And as a leader, kind of going hand in hand with me being a lawyer, I will help develop people, I will help teach people, and I will be a mentor to people.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Purdy. Ms. Alcott. Kind of sorry you stopped by that table, aren't you? And then I got you again. What will your legacy be? And let me clarify that for you, just to give you some time, right? So, and it's funny, I turned 50 this year, right? I know, right? I know. You're supposed to say, oh, you don't look like you're going to be 50. Y'all not giving me any love. Oh, you're thinking it? Good answer, good answer. You didn't want to interrupt the presentation, I understand. But when you reach that point in your life, you realize, quite frankly, that you have about 20 years, if you're lucky, assuming that my benefits hold up, and my retirement plan holds up, that you have about 20 years to work, right? And thinking about what your career has meant or what you want it to mean. And so for me, and also, I mean, quite frankly, I don't know if I'm going to live another 50 years, so thinking about at some point I will leave this planet and what that will mean and what my presence will have meant. So that's why I ask all of you to think about this question, and more specifically, I'm putting you on the spot. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for?
I want my legacy to be something that translates to anybody who's ever been in my position.
Okay.
So I want to give back to my community, give back to the country that my family has come from. And I want to be able to be that person that someone looks up to and can say that if she did it, then I can do it as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Very, very good. So I want you to look at those questions and think about them for a moment. Because you know, a lot of times as lawyers and law students and undergrads, we spend a lot of time talking, right? Professors spend a lot of time talking at you. And I want you to think. I want you to think. I want you to think about what it means to be a lawyer. What does it mean when you walk into a room and you represent someone else's interest? Whether you're on the public side and someone might lose their children, but for what you can do for them, or their homes. Or you're representing a major corporation and they're about to close on this deal. And what you do matters. Think about that. What is that? What kind of power is that? What kind of responsibility is that? And I really want you to think about what does that mean and what your role will be. You need to know and I think I lectured one of you, or I actually lecture Cheryl all the time. As you think about what you want to do professionally, I want you to explore that information. I want you to explore what it means to be a constitutional lawyer. Explore what it means to be a civil rights lawyer. Really think about what that means and what the hard work is going to require, right? Make sense? So let's talk about your journey ahead. Putting your mask on first, the title, right? I tend to be kind of jazzy in my presentation. I realize that. That's kind of my career's like that because I'm all over the place in terms of what I do, right? So how many of you have been on a plane? Everybody been on a plane? How many remembers the airline attendant saying to you, put your mask on first? Put your mask on first before you assist anyone else. And for some reason, that has always resonated with me in the context of law school and my career. And I think in part because of some of the things I shared with you about my family and balancing those kinds of interests and what that has meant. All of you will go through something. All of you will struggle to one degree or the other. You have to figure out how you balance your own personal and professional goals with the goals and other kind of expectations that your friends, your family, your significant other may have for you. So think about that. Put your mask on first. Not always easy, but you got to do it. Other things I want you to think about. Prepare well for the things that you want. We spend a lot of time talking about what we want. We don't spend a lot of time being honest with ourselves about saying, are we prepared for the thing that you want? I have spoken things into the universe and said, I want to be in charge of X. And sometimes I didn't realize I wasn't prepared for the thing that I said I wanted. You got to prepare for it. You've got to know what it takes. You've got to focus in that way. And you can't be afraid of finding out that information. Okay? Other stuff. There will come points between this process while you're applying for law school, while you're finishing up your undergrad, where you will question your own resolve. When you're in law school, you'll question yourself all the time. I can't tell you how many times I spent crying and worrying about whether I was going to get through or not get through and questioning whether this was the right decision for me. It's okay to question. Questioning is okay. But you're more powerful than you think. Think about that. You're more powerful than you think. Or than you think. All of you have access to something that I didn't have access to when I went to school. Probably some of you weren't even born when I went to school. I graduated in 1995 from law school, right? So we're talking a long time ago. Wow, right? A long time ago. We didn't have the internet. Not to the extent that we have it now. You have so much information available to you in terms of what lawyers do, how to write a brief, how to prepare for class, how to write a memo, whatever the question may be, what area of law in which you may be interested. It's all there. Access it. Take advantage of it. Don't be afraid of the information. So here's the thing. Others will question your ability. So I'm going to give you a few stories from law school because I don't know how much time we have left. Orientation. First 2 minutes? Okay, orientation. Snapshot 1. We had a conversation where they did a presentation on diversity and how we all supposed to be kumbaya and get along. I'm walking out of orientation with some of my colleagues, and I don't know who said it, but this is the way law school started. These N-words always want something for free. Orientation. Classroom, contracts class, one of my, don't know who said it. Contracts. Had a professor who stood before the room. She was saying that she grew up in New York City, and she happened to be outside of the Audubon Ballroom the day that Malcolm X was assassinated. And this were her words exactly. I will never forget this. Here I was, this skinny white Jewish woman, with all these hordes of black people running towards me. Thing 2. Going to interview, right? went to a corporate firm to interview to see if they would hire me as a summer associate. The guy interviewing told me we don't practice street law. I know, right? But you know what's so crazy? And I'll leave you with this. This is what and then I want to read that quote to you. That kind of stuff in the moment impacted me, but I never really cared about that because I had someone come to me, actually a graduate student, and she was writing about black women in academia. And I said to her, these things have happened. Things will continue to happen because that's the world that we live in, but I've never cared. For me, it was always about setting my own goals and my own expectations and basically believing that I controlled my universe because I had the education. I had access to information. No one can take that away from you. So this other stuff, it happens. It's great to tell you anecdotally so you'll be prepared, but I don't care. And I can tell you for a fact that if you work hard and you apply yourself, and I know that sounds kind of, it doesn't sound real, but it's true. If you work hard and you apply yourself, you will succeed. You can't worry about what's in other people's heads. All right, so I'm going to leave you with this quote, and then I'm going to leave. Your life is like a book. The title page is your name. The preface, your introduction to the world. The pages are a daily record of your efforts, trials, pleasures, discouragements, and achievements. Day by day, your thoughts and acts are being inscribed in your book of life. Hour by hour, the record is being made that must stand for all time. Once the word fini, end, must be written, let it be said of your book that it was a record of noble purpose, generous service, and work well done. Thank you.